Hi there, Neil Clark here from Falkirk Piping, www.falkirkpiping.com. Welcome to the channel. Videos contained here are designed as aid memoirs for my pupils, although they're free for anyone to use. If you're benefiting from the videos, please subscribe to the channel. This is completely free to do. May I also ask that you consider supporting my chosen charity, Parkinson's UK, by donating to my Just Giving page. The link to that page may be found in the comments box below this video. Video for a specific pupil again this particular time, and what we're going to be looking at is Corrienessan's salute, in particular the Crunluath singling and doubling. So Jimmy, we've covered a little bit of this. If you want to give the Crunluath movement in here a name, it's a Crunluath Piobaireachd, which is Breabach, Crunluath Piobaireachd. And if you want to sort of split it up, it's a standard Crunluath with two additional notes at the end of it. So it's still a standard Crunluath. It's not like a Fosgilt where actually it's completely different, or indeed an Amach where it's different again. It's basically a standard Crunluath with two extra notes at the end. And there are three lines to each variation. Even although in Piobaireachd it's shown as 4 lines. Remember, we're talking lines 1, 2 and 3, and they consist of 6 bars, 6 bars and 4 bars. That's the way to differentiate between them. Also, at the end of line number 1, at the end of each actual line, there will be a double bar. So if there's a double bar, that's you at the end of line 1, line 2 or line 3. 6 bars and 4 bars. If you're reading from Piobaireachd, of course, you have to be able to understand the shorthand. If you're reading from the Guard's book, which is every bit as competent, then you just follow it right through, but it does help if you understand this line thing. Anyway, let's have a look at the first phrase. So we have 3 Crunluaths followed by a cadence to C and a rodin. So we have something like this. Now, that's relatively straightforward until you get to the final E of the last Piobaireachd Crunluath. It's Crunluath, A, C, E, Crunluath, A, E, Crunluath, A, and you'll see that on the last 2 notes, the A and the E after the third Crunluath, you have a fermata symbol. Now, these are, yes, it's held at the player's discretion, but you don't have discretion to hold the thing forever. It still has to be in balance. I would also say that the A before the E is going to get a little bit less than the E. You're coming to the end of a phrase. You're also moving from the E to a cadence, so there's going to be a little bit of a pause there as well. But you're not going to hang about forever. The cadence is a cadence to C. Let's just have a quick look at that. G grace note to a long E. If you look in the middle of that movement, which is shown as an embellishment, you'll see that the G grace note there is a normal grace note, a demi-semi-quaver. The E is shown as a quaver, and of course because it's Piobaireachd and it's a little bit different, it's probably held just a little bit more than a quaver as well. Then through the D to the C. In this case, we play a full D and down to the C. The B is different, but in a cadence to C, G grace note to E, through the full D and down to the C. Coming from the C, we're going to do the rodin next, R-O-D-I-N, down to low G, a single B finger, lift it off, then back to low G and up to A. Let's go backwards. Come from C. Now for me, the way that I get these type of movements, the Darado, the Turluath, Crunluath as well, is I aim for that low G. You'll be sick fed up hearing me say that, but yeah, aim for that first low G, the second one should follow. Let's do the rodin again. let's move backwards now and try that cadence to C, G grace note to E through the D to the C, G grace note to E through the D to the C. Whatever you do, don't look at the D portion of that cadence and think grace note. Aye, it looks like a grace note because that's the way we as pipers read music. It's not a grace note. We pass through the D to the C. Let's put them both together. Then, let's have a look at the first phrase. The first phrase, if you're reading from Piobaireachd, is repeated. So we have pretty much the meat and bones of the Crunluath singling, but what we're going to do, we'll play the next two bars, the next 2-bar phrase, mainly because it has a cadence to B, which is worth covering by itself. So bar number 3 begins on a B Crunluath. Let's slow that cadence to B down. You'll see again the 2 notes before the cadence. Fermata's over both. I would submit that probably the C is going to get more than the A. But G grace note to E, same way that we start the cadence to C. This time we're going to come through a single D finger and down to the B. After that it's just a low G grace note to low A. Now, you've probably heard the 2 ways I did that there. The first D grace note it wasn't snappy, I suppose, but it was shorter than the second. The second was quite long, and it still worked. So don't be in any rush to get these single Ds in. It's meant to sound like a kind of rolling down a slope there. That's not a general opinion, that's just the way I like to think of it. I like to think of it as a concave slope. Is that the one that goes that way? Convex goes that way. Anyway, a round hill. Let's do that again. G grace note to E through the D to the B. And finishing with the low G grace note to low A. And relax through that low G to the A as well. So let's not dwell on line 1, and we'll just take you through the rest of it. So we'll have line 2 and line 3 of the singling, which I'll play for you just now. The reason that we're going to play especially line 2 is what happens is we're heading for a double echo in the middle, and it's a B double echo, and it begins with a cadence to B as well, so you've got a little bit to have a look at, like this. So what we're working at here then is bar 1, 2, 3, 4. Bar 4 contains the double echo. Now you can see where your third Crunluath stops. we have the pause notes coming in, and then you can see that there's a cadence to B. There is a strike to B. The B after the strike has a dot, and then there's a further strike to B. But here's where the difference is. The second strike, the second low G before the final B there, is shown as a semiquaver. It has 2 bars instead of 3 bars. First bar, the first strike is a normal sort of grace note, it's a demi-semiquaver. The second strike is twice the size. So let's split it down. So B strike, strike, B, B strike, strike, B. Let's put the cadence on that as well. So it's a cadence to B, G grace note to E through the single D finger, B, immediately strike, sit back down on the G and come back up again. Now that wasn't necessarily demonstration speed, that's the speed you can play that at quite happily. So that's in the middle of line 2. Line 3 is pretty much straightforward actually, you're just finishing off. Don't be tempted to rush anything. Pay as much attention to line 3 as you would to the other lines. It only has 4 bars, so it's a shorter line. And we're on to the doubling after that. Always remember, practice your transitions. Don't finish each variation and take a breath and move to the next variation. Practice your transitions, otherwise you'll be heading for them when you're playing it and thinking, oh no, how do I get to the next one? Where's the pause note? So I think we have enough time to have a look to show you the singling. The doubling's pretty self-explanatory. It's still 6 bars, 6 bars and 4 bars. So the singling then, that's the singling. So let's have a look at the doubling now. The main thing to remember with the doubling is, yes, you have 32 Crunluaths to work your way through. You have no pause notes, but you're still working in phrases of 4 Crunluaths. So we have a few places where we would like a pause in, a subtle pause, don't forget. We're not putting a full stop on here. So it's at the end of the line, end of each line, we would like a subtle pause. We also have a pause or almost a breaking note at the end of each variation, and that's more pronounced. But we're still working in phrases of 4 Crunluath 2-bar phrases here, and if we can sort of just swell the last one up a little bit, very, very subtly, don't over-egg it. It actually does more damage if you overdo it than if you actually forget to put a subtle pause in at all. So it's a very subtle thing. But what I find is it's not only what's perceived as correct phrasing, it also helps me remember the tune if I'm doing it in 4 Crunluath phrases, 2-bar phrases like that. Once I've hit that slight pause, I know that bit's behind me and I move to the next, so it helps me with memory, because not much else does. So I'll just play the full thing and I'll try and make a half decent job of it for you. Missed one Crunluath there, but there's not a lot to say about it really, other than it'll help. It helps if you just get the subtle pauses in there. So that's pretty much it. So good luck with that. I hope that helped. Don't try and do the Crunluaths that quick. Nice and deliberate as usual. Alright, see you Sunday.